Hello, viewers. Video number 485, talking about decoding a miracle in the Bournvita quiz contest, got a lot of views. So, staying on the same theme, in today's video, I'm going to recount the winning moments from Bournvita quiz contest of 2003. The reason I'm uploading this video on YouTube on 9th May is because it was 9th May 22 years back in 2003 when I won the Bournvita quiz contest, which is an all Asia event. It was televised on Sony Entertainment Television, and not only did I live the experience of winning the competition, but I was also able to relive it by watching myself on television for the first time. So in this video, I'm going to show you the winning moments from the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finals of the All Asia Cadbury Bournvita Quiz Contest from 2003, which was hosted by Derek O'Brien, and it was organized in Kolkata. The semifinals and the quarterfinals were organized in Nico Park, and the final was in Swabhumi in Bengali. The irony is not lost on me that I participated in an all Asia event 200 kilometers from my hometown, and I didn't have to travel to other parts of Asia, but I did encounter many students who were in that event, who participated in that event, and who were from different parts of Asia, especially from the Middle East. We, all of us, all the students and the teachers, we were staying in the same hotel. The hotel was Astor in Shakespeare Sharoni in Kolkata. And during dinner or during lunch, we would see different participants in the quiz, and we would talk to them. And I found out there was a team from Muscat. There were other teams from other parts of Asia also, but most of the teams were from India, and it is a very big event. Many schools compete, and in a very structured manner, it narrows down to two teams at the end, and you will see the course of events in the videos. First, let us talk about the quarterfinals. Please check out the video first.
3-1 here. And Army School Ambala, you want to get the question? Here is the question from me. Then we have a question from Mr. Chiranjit. Here we go. Who won the Nobel Prize in 1930 for his discovery relating to the scattering of light? C.V. Raman. C.V. Raman is absolutely right. Army School. Which Nobel laureate's Indian uncle was also a Nobel Prize winner in physics? Subramaniam Chandrasekhar. Yes. Wonderful. That is a superb answer. Excellent. St. Patrick's Asansol have got 4 points. Army School Ambala have come second on this quarterfinal. Let's have a round of applause for Army School Ambala. And the winners on this quarterfinal through to the semi-final, the team from West Bengal, St. Patrick's Asansol.
So each episode had 4 teams to begin with, and there was a method in which they were narrowed down to the top 2 teams who would go head to head against each other in the final round, which was like a tiebreaker round, almost like the tiebreaker of almost like a penalty shootout in football matches, or for my viewers from the United States of America, soccer matches. So it's like a penalty shootout. Whichever team builds up an unassailable lead wins the episode. So you would have seen in the quarterfinals, the moment our lead was 4-2 and there was only one question left, even if we missed the final question and the team from Umbala got the final question right, the deficit would still be 4-3. So the episode ended immediately when we had built up an unassailable lead. Now, the key thing about the quarterfinal, I want to mention 2 things. One is that the questions we received were uttered by the special guest. In that case, in the case of the quarterfinal, it was Subhash Bhomik, the legendary football player, and Chiranjit, the legendary film star from Bengal. Now, the thing about receiving questions from celebrities is that they are not professional quizmasters. And one of the most essential qualities of a quizmaster is they should be able to pronounce the questions properly. Now, I'm not saying my pronunciation is perfect, and everybody, I have said this so many times, especially in my English videos, everybody speaks with an accent. It's just how familiar are you with that accent? So while Derek O'Brien's accent was very familiar to us because we had grown up watching Derek O'Brien on television, I loved Bournvita quiz contest as a child. I remember being glued to the television screen as a very young child, watching the teams compete in the Bournvita quiz contest. And I was very surprised one day when I saw that the school I was studying in was actually competing in that event. And I think I was in standard three at that time when I saw St. Patrick's Asansol competing in Bournvita quiz contest, which really was a light bulb moment when I realized, oh, so the school I study in actually participates in these events. So then I started doing a bit of research, which is just a code word of saying I asked my teachers, when does when does a student get a chance to participate in this particular event? So it was mentioned to me that in seventh standard and in eighth standard. So one student from seventh standard and one student from eighth standard gets to represent St. Patrick's in this event. There would be a qualification round. So there was no nepotism or favoritism at that time. So there would be a qualification round within the school. If you got the highest marks, which I did, if you got the highest score in the qualification round, you get the privilege of representing your school. Then there is a qualification round within the region. In my case, it was just one city, and whichever school got the first position in that city got to represent the city, and then you had to compete with all the teams. So we were familiar with Derek O'Brien's accent. We were not familiar with Subhash Bhomik's English accent, and Chiranjit's English accent was still okay, but I did not. To this day, even when I replay the quarterfinal episodes, I can't understand Subhash Bhomik's accent. How my teammate Shamik Ray, who is now working for Spotify, he has a very important role and he has really reached greater heights. He probably lives in Sweden right now. I'll share his LinkedIn bio on the screen just for fun. And so, how Shamik Ray was able to understand Subhash Bhomik's accent is a mystery till this day. I did not understand a single word he said, but Shamik was able to understand and he answered all four questions correctly. And Army School Ambala, who were in spectacular form in the quarterfinals, somehow did not answer the questions in the final round, and that's how we managed to win the quarterfinals. Now, moving to the semi-finals, the special guest was Jagmohan Dalmia. And yet again, we were the second team to qualify to the final round. So the team which qualified to the final round first got two choices, whether to receive the first question and who would ask them the questions.
The mystery of Edwin Drood. No, you were too much in a hurry. It's Scrooge from Ebenezer Scrooge of Christmas Carol. And Oliver Twist of which criminal profession was wagon master trader? Pickpocket. Yes, yeah, he was a pickpocket. Well done. What kind of an aquatic creature is a Suwani chicken? Pass. You're not even trying. Okay. It's a turtle. St. Patrick's, it's a turtle. The bee is the most important insect that carries out pollination. Which is the second most important? Butterfly. Flies. Not butterflies, girls, butterflies. Whose adopted son and great nephew became the first emperor of Rome? Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is not the wrong answer, St. Patrick's. It's the right answer. Julius Caesar in 13th century, who became the first emperor of the Yuan dynasty. So what's in? Well, oh well. We have a result. Mr. Dalmia, what's the answer? Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan is the answer. St. Patrick's Asansol are through to the All Asia final. St. Patrick's Asansol. What a major achievement this is.
So in the semifinals, both in the quarterfinals and in the semifinals, we were the second team to reach the final round. So we were basically chasing the top team. Army School Ambala was in spectacular form in quarterfinals, but we were able to catch up and win in the final round. And in the semifinals, Carmel Convent Kolkata basically were answering every question correctly, but somehow they were not able to answer the questions in the final round, and we got an opening and we were able to get the questions right. One of the interesting things about this quiz is that if you have paid close attention to the questions, the subject of the questions remain the same when they are asked to each team. So maybe question three is history. So we get a question about the Roman Empire, and Carmel Convent got a question about the Chinese Empire. It's Just so I don't know why they were not able to answer the Chinese Empire question, because Sun Yat-sen is from the 20th century and Kublai Khan is from the 13th century. But I suppose under pressure, people do make mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, a very interesting thing about shooting these events, or kind of an inside secret that I want to share here, is in a typical quiz contest, what happens? You're asked a question, you answer the question, either you're right or you're wrong. That's it. End of story. But if the quiz contest is being shot, there are camera crew available and people are monitoring the sound and everything. Suppose you have mentioned a right answer and you have not mentioned it in a proper way. Maybe your voice was not loud enough, maybe you forgot to use the microphone. All these things happen. It's just like shooting a YouTube video. So maybe you, in excitement, just shouted out the answer. The quizmaster is not very far away. He is able to hear you. But the camera is not able to hear you. The camera needs the microphone, just like this YouTube video needs a microphone. This one. So what happens then is the people monitoring the footage immediately give a feedback that Derek, please repeat that sequence. So when that question is repeated, you are supposed to give the same answer properly using the microphone. And sometimes you know that based on Derek O'Brien's response, you know that you've already answered the question correctly or incorrectly. If you have answered the question correctly, what happens is your teammate now is very confident because he knows that you have answered the question correctly. So what does he do? He also says the same answer into the mic. It appears like both of the teammates knew the answer, which was actually not the case all the time. Most of the time, either I knew the answer or Shamik knew the answer. But sometimes we both knew the answer, and we had this very gentlemanly agreement. I was the junior. I was very respectful. I knew that if he knew the answer, I'm not going to question him. And if I knew the answer, he would not interrupt. We did not want to come across as people who wanted to answer only ourselves, or worse, two answers at the same time. That would disqualify. If I said Manchester United and he said Liverpool for the same question, even if I was right and he was wrong, we would get 0 marks, or worse, negative marks. If it was a negative mark, we would get 0 points or negative points depending upon the rules of the round. So we were very careful about not coming up with two different answers. So either I would answer or he would answer. But if there was a question of a retake and we knew that the answer we had uttered was right, then there was a possibility that the other person would also like to chime in. But the worst thing was if the answer was already uttered and was incorrect, and you knew it. We knew the answer was incorrect, but just for the purpose of being televised properly, we had to repeat the same incorrect answer once more for TV. You just couldn't change your answer, even if you knew that you already answered the question incorrectly the first time. You can't change it. It's not fair. That's the rule. So you had to repeat the same answer. But the worst possibility was a very critical question is asked, just like the Julius Caesar question. I remember it like it was yesterday, but it was 22 years back. But I remember it still very easily. Derek O'Brien asked that question. I answered Julius Caesar. Before Derek O'Brien could reply, his microphone stopped working. There was some technical difficulty. So he had to repeat the question and I had to repeat the same answer. I could not change my answer. That was the rule. Now, while he was preparing to ask me the question again, it took some time to repair his microphone or some technical glitch that had happened. Shamik was telling me that it was not Julius Caesar. You're wrong. Julius Caesar was never the emperor. I said, I have already said Julius Caesar. I can't change my answer. And if you were confident about it, why didn't you answer it? Something to that effect. But then now that I've said Julius Caesar, they will not allow me to change my answer. So I have to repeat the same wrong answer. So if you pay attention to it, I said Julius Caesar in a very scared manner because Shramik had already told me this is the wrong answer. You're wrong. Derek O'Brien had said nothing. But I said Julius Caesar, and Derek O'Brien understood I was not 100% certain. So he also played for the camera. That is not the incorrect answer, or that is not the wrong answer. That was genuine relief that you saw on camera. So we were very happy with that. But thankfully, Carmel Convent, Kolkata, the spectacular team who had answered so beautifully throughout the event, were not able to answer the Chinese dynasty question. And I also felt the Animal Kingdom question, where we got Suhani chicken, which till date I don't know what it is. Although I know it's turtle, but I've never seen it, and I would never be able to answer that question in 1,000 years. They got a question on Animal Kingdom, which is the second most important insect for pollination after bees. And I also had felt it is butterflies, but thankfully it was not the right answer. We got a chance to get the history question. History used to be my forte at that time. And Julius Caesar is one of my favorite works of literature. So I was very happy with that question. Moving on to the final, that was the first time where we dominated the episode. And we were the team which qualified for the final round first. That is the penalty shootout kind of round first. The team to join us was Shivalik Mohali, very capable team. Although in the final, the televised episode showed only 5 questions, in the final, it was actually 3 sets of 5 questions. They did not want to do anything which would allow people to question who the real winner is. They did not want, instead of a set of 5 questions where maybe less deserving teams could win if they are lucky, it was a set of 15 questions. And whoever got more questions right would win the quiz. But they televised only the final 5 questions. But because we had the option of choosing which quiz master would ask us the question, the guest or Derek O'Brien, we chose Derek O'Brien. And we also chose the first question because we wanted to create that pressure. We did not want to be under the pressure that we have to answer the question, otherwise we would lose. So we took the first question always, and we chose Derek O'Brien always. But we only got the opportunity to make that choice in the final because in the quarterfinal and the semifinal, we were the second team to qualify. We didn't have that choice. When we knew, because the final was shot in 2 days, it was the first half was shot on 8th May, and towards the it had 2 episodes, final 1, final 2. So final 1, final 2, almost I would say, apart from the final round, the final penalty shootout round between the top two teams, everything else was shot on 8th May. 9th May, only the penalty shootout was there. So we were going to bed knowing that we are either going to be the All Asia champions or we are going to miss out by just one round, the performance in one round. We were so close to winning. And it breaks the momentum also because we felt that, yes, we are on a roll, we are going to dominate, but that was a difficult night. I remember I was not able to eat dinner during that night. Shamik told me, eat something. I want you to eat at least something. And I was like, I can't eat. This is too stressful for me. I see, quizzing is easy, eating is not. So, but then during dinner, one of the people, I think the person was part of the crew. He came up to us. Maybe he had started rooting for us. I don't know. Maybe because we were the underdogs from a place nobody had heard of. And so this person walks up to us while we are having dinner, or I am pretending to have dinner, and he gives us unsolicited advice, which was really valuable because we had never been in a position to make that choice, whether to uh, choose Derek or choose the guest. And we didn't think it made that much of a difference because we were answering guest questions fine in the quarterfinal and the semifinal. But this person told us that, see, the guest is not a professional quiz master. He does not know how to ask questions. He does not know what to emphasize on. His pronunciation might be difficult for you to understand. If you don't understand the question properly, in that 5 seconds, 10 seconds time that you have to answer the question, you have to say something. And if you haven't understood the question, how will you answer it correctly? So the safe bet is always choose Derek and always choose the first question. To this date, I don't remember who told me this. I didn't remember. I was so stressed, I didn't ask him his name. I don't know why he told us. And it was completely unsolicited advice. He just told us, one piece of advice: choose Derek to ask you the question because you'll have no difficulty understanding the question. Whether you know the answer or not, it's a separate matter, but you'll be able to understand the question easily. So, thank you, unknown person. I hope you enjoyed watching my winning moments from 22 years back. Shamik, I hope you get to see this video from Sweden. And thank you for watching. Bye bye. As always, please don't forget to be awesome.
Anshul, thanks very, very much for being here. It's a very special occasion because we started off with 4,800 schools, and this is the All Asia final with two teams. Baichuk, tell me, when you were in school, were you a very studious kind of guy? In the Count of Monte Cristo, which Frenchman was Edmond Dante accused of helping Napoleon Bonaparte? Napoleon Bonaparte. If you're right, St. Patrick's Asansol, West Bengal, you'll go up 2-0. And the news is the West Bengal team is up 2-0. That is the right answer. Gujarat Anand, untouchable. Which famous real life Indian was written about?
Mahatma Gandhi.
Mahatma Gandhi is the right answer. Good shot, Mohali, you're fighting back. Where would you wear the Peruke? P-E-R-U-K-E.
On your head.
That is the right answer, St. Patrick's. Shivalik Mohali, this is desperate stuff. You have to answer this to remain in this final. If you miss, we have new All Asia champions. Right, Chung? What are Choga and Angarrakha types of? Overcoats? That's the right answer. It's true. Two South American countries have won the Football World Cup only twice. One is Argentina. They've won it twice. He's looking very confident. Which is the other country?
Uruguay.
Uruguay. If you're right on this, we have the new All Asia champions. If you're wrong, we'll ask a question to Shivalik Mohali. Well, we have the new All Asia champions! St. Patrick's SSO, West Bengal. This is incredible. Boys, wonderful. Spare applause for the team who comes second, Shivalik Mohali. And we have Baichung Bhutia with us to give away the trophy. But I'm delighted to announce we also have some of our earlier winners of this very prestigious contest from the 1970s, the 1980s, and the 1990s. We have you here. And Baichung Bhutia will now hand over the trophy.
सवालों से दोस्ती कर लो, इन्हीं से होते हैं कमाल।